Hi everyone, Lincoln Stephen triathlete, checking in with a post-race report from Challenge Shepparton Half Ironman, and that was yesterday in Shepparton, and in short, not the day I was hoping for. Just didn't quite get out of myself what I was expecting, and just quickly I'll apologise for the reflection on my computer here in my blue light blockers, but in fact, maybe that's a better idea. And I'm going to share my screen here and just show you a few things. So first of all, my times. So I entered in the men's open division, hoping to have a strong crack against some faster, or most likely going to be some fast amateur athletes. And it looks as though there was only 9 entrants in the open category, as it turns out, and certainly a few of them, I'm guessing some of them at least, were entering for reasons different to mine, and not necessarily expecting to challenge for a high placing in the open instead of competing in their age group. That's just an assumption, but as you can see, I finished 4th in the open category, but that's quite a generous placing, I would say, considering I was 25 minutes behind 3rd place, and 1st, 2nd, and 3rd were within 3 minutes of each other. So those 3 are certainly very quick and very well matched, it seems, in their abilities. But as far as my times go, the swim was really disappointing. 36 minutes is about 4 minutes slower than what I did in Geelong 2 weeks ago. And I will say initially that the Geelong race, I really don't think it had really any impact on this race at all. Even though they're only 2 weeks apart, I was really happy with how I recovered and how I continued to prepare for this race. And I don't think there was any fatigue necessarily carried over from the Geelong race. And I think I was prepared as well as I possibly could be, considering having done that big effort just 2 weeks ago. So 36 minutes for the swim was, disappointing. My watch seemed to indicate that the distance of the course was accurate, and I came out of the water seeing my time and being disappointed, but just not getting too hung up on that. The other thing about the start and the finish of the swim was that the air temperature was freezing. It was about 7 or 8 degrees. However, the feels like temperature was listed at about 2 degrees. Now, this is pretty unusual to be competing in a triathlon under those weather conditions. Certainly, I haven't. I may have only done that once previously, and that was probably the Ballarat Half Ironman from 2014. And on that occasion, I wore an extra jersey on the ride over top of my triathlon suit, as well as gloves as well. On this occasion, I wore a thermal skull cap under my helmet, which I did for Geelong as well. So I repeated that this time. It's definitely a good move. It definitely helps to hold in some of the heat. And I also wore gloves. I thought I would end up wearing an extra jersey as well on this bike ride, considering the forecast. But after taking my wetsuit off, I decided that the gloves and the skull cap were going to be sufficient. And that was the best move that I could have made for dealing with those cold temperatures, because they certainly were enough to maintain enough heat in my body. And then the day warmed up enough during the bike leg that it was the right move with those extra bits that I wore. So onto the bike leg, I was feeling pretty good, and the course, which takes us from Shepparton through Maribna and to the south to Lamba, there's a little loop off here and further down to the turnaround before heading straight back. Now the wind was coming from the southwest or west-southwest direction, so coming from about here. So the ride out was mostly a cross headwind coming across from our sort of right shoulder, and so it was pretty tough going coming down this way, and it was a little bit easier going back, but it was more of a cross tailwind from the left, and that certainly assisted. So certainly the pace was much higher going back, but it was still difficult to work with because you still had to deal with the side force of the wind as well. So that does can make things a bit more difficult, particularly if you're not well practiced in those conditions. I've certainly done more than enough riding over the years on various roads in different wind conditions to not be bothered by that. And really, it's something you just learn to roll with, as it were. You don't try and fight against those crosswinds. You just try and let the wind take you a little bit and not be too rigid trying to fight back against it. So certainly the wind didn't bother me overall, but the ride itself over the 90 Ks, which my bike computer registered at 89.29 Ks and 2 hours 26:40. The official race time gave me 2:26:51. So just a matter of where I start and stop my computer compared to the race timing mats. But it was a strong ride, but not what I was expecting or hoping for. I was really hoping for around about that 2 hours 20 mark, and which is about an average of 38, just over 38 Ks an hour. But on this occasion, it was an average speed of 36.5. And moving on to the run, I knew that I was not in the time the times that I was hoping for, but I was just still hoping just to really finish off with a strong run. After my run in Geelong went so well after the initial first K, which was essentially walked, I was really believing I could put out something close to that 125 mark for the 21K run. And I started off well. The first couple of Ks were on that pace, and then it just slowly went backwards from there. And I had a few patches where I was dealing with muscles in my legs that were threatening to cramp. I was fortunate they didn't go into a full cramp, but they were very twitchy for a while. And I actually, apart from those first couple of Ks where I felt pretty good, my best probably 2K section after that point was probably the last 2Ks. It's almost like I got to that sort of last quarter of the run, and actually that's when I started to really find my momentum, and I was really able to finish off those last couple of Ks quite strongly, which is interesting. I think it's a good sign of the strength work I've done, and even the strength running I've done with the hill training and etc. But the overall finish time of 4:38 is 13 minutes behind my personal best of 4:25, which I have been trying to beat for almost 8 years now, because I actually achieved that personal best of 4:25 on the old Shepparton Half Ironman course, which used to be held in I'll show you just on this map here. So Kyla here is just on the south side of the Shepparton township. There's an estate area out there with a lake in it, and it used to be held out there. That was when it was an Ironman brand event, as opposed to the Challenge Family races. And so even though it was a different course, a very, very similar course. Still a lake swim, very flat, open bike course, and the run was very similar, with plenty of flat, but also some little bit of windy stuff through the bush area as well. So yeah, almost identical types of courses, and that's where I still hold my personal best. So moving forward, it's certainly thinking a lot about how I view races for next season, and what I would hope to target. At this stage, my thinking is that I'm still very motivated to go faster in a half Ironman. I think I'm generally suited to that distance over everything else, but it does require a certain amount of time to prepare well. And thinking back to 2013, when I achieved that personal best, I certainly trained a lot more in terms of volume, hours of weekly training. It was a few years before having kids, for example, and life at the time was certainly different, with different factors of time management. And so it's a lot to consider, trying to manage training these days, and being smart about it, to do enough to try and perform to the standard I want to, but also not doing too much that when trying to balance everything in life, trying to make sure I don't burn myself out, which certainly over the years I've done more than enough times. And at this stage, I'll look at, hopefully the Yarrawonga Moala Multi-Sport Festival will happen again in October. There'll be, if so, there'll be an Olympic distance race available there, which I would certainly like to go back to. There is Ironman 70.3 Melbourne in November, so it's half Ironman, which I am probably 80% sure that I'll do at this stage. There will be Geelong again in February, 70.3, and I assume Challenge Shepparton will be on again at the similar time next year. So there's Olympic distance plus 3 half Ironmans that there's a good chance I'll try and do all those races. And between now and then, my initial focus will be on my swim. I need to dedicate some serious time to do some much bigger volume in the swim, and it's definitely the right time to do it now. So the next probably 2 months, I'll certainly won't be doing much for the next 2 weeks, but I'd like to dedicate a solid 2 months to trying to swim 3 times a week, and a total volume of kilometers around about 10 kilometers across those 3 swims, plus other strength work using stretch cords and developing strength through the swim stroke. As far as riding and running goes, it'll be very minimal in that time. The idea will be to get my swim to a level that I think it should be at, and then look to try and maintain that through until the start of the season, while I'm then developing my bike and my run as well. It's not something I've given enough time to in the past. Also, before next season, I'll need a new wetsuit because, unfortunately, the wetsuit I have been using for the past 4.5 years is on its last legs. The Velcro that seals it shut across the back of my neck has just lost its stick. So it was actually come undone during the swim yesterday, and that may have caused a bit of extra drag, unfortunately. But there's also, I've got a large hole in one of the arms as well, which the glue hasn't, that I've tried to reseal it with a couple of times, hasn't fully worked. So there's definitely going to be a swim focus for a while, and try and make sure I just get that up to a much better standard, whereby I honestly believe that I'm definitely capable of consistently swimming 30 minutes for the half Ironman, but I really want to achieve a sub 30-minute swim for the 1.9k half Ironman swim. So plenty of work to do there. During the race, I wasn't feeling great about the future and racing half Ironmans, but having time to think about things now and how I will approach my training before next season, I'm feeling more optimistic about it. So please make sure you like my athlete Facebook page, Lincoln Stephen -triathlete. Also Instagram at Ironman_Lincoln. That's also my handle on Twitter, although Twitter's not something I've used a whole lot. And please like this video, subscribe to my channel. I will endeavour to put as much content as I can on there, time permitting, and share this as wherever you can. But I appreciate you following along. And so just a few shout outs quickly. So like I've shown in previous videos, my employer V-Line, who's very supportive to staff and certainly have been very supportive to me competing in triathlons over the years. Cyclescape bike shops in Ballarat and Bendigo. So they, from my previous race in Geelong where I had the issue with the broken aero bar clamp, I got that sorted by Cyclescape in Bendigo very quickly. Got my old aero bar clamps put on there. They worked out really well, and I'll be happy to continue on with those because they felt really good in the end, even though my arms were a little bit narrower than they were used to. It did actually feel really good. We Bar None healthy snack food bars, webarnone.com.au. Please check it out. My stepsister Ellen's business, snack bars packaged in fully compostable packaging, the first Victorian business to ever do that. Get a hold of her snack bars and her seed crackers. They are exceptional products. They will not disappoint, I assure you. And get on her website and check out all those things. Find her on Facebook and Instagram as well. Holistic Endurance, holisticendurance.com.au. Check out the website, get in contact with the team there for services relating to being an athlete, endurance athlete in triathlon or in any of the triathlon disciplines, and also in achieving wellness, just making sure that you you can be performing better in your athletic endeavours while also achieving much greater wellness too. I really have a huge amount of respect for their training philosophies, and there's a range of resources on their website too, with blogs, and there's some ebooks that you can check out too. Very, very helpful resources. And also shout out to Sarah Mulcairns of Complete Performance Coaching, who's was nice enough to snap a few shots of me yesterday in the race and pass them on. So thanks heaps to Sarah too. You can find a whole range of links in the description below in this video to a bunch of stuff I've just mentioned. And once again, thanks for checking this out, and see what the future brings. Cheers.